Let's start a recording here once I get some of this stuff fixed. I'm all over the place tonight. This is a Facebook Live version of whatever this is I'm doing. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I'm messing with this light and trying to. I have papers everywhere. This is a wild little space I got in here. I'm gonna go ahead and I just wanted to get on Facebook Live before I start this recording for the podcast, because I wanted to know tonight if there's anything that you guys would like for me to discuss in particular on the podcast. Now, hey John Ryan, if there's anything you'd like me to discuss, guys, I'd love to know what it is, and maybe I could do a little work before I do a podcast. So for the next half hour or so here, I got my official writing materials, and I'm ready to take down suggestions for a podcast this week. Go. So the reason that I'm on Facebook Live right now is because in a few minutes I'll start a podcast with all of us, and this Facebook Live will get captured and put on the YouTube that you guys will be able to see, and the eventually put over there. It takes a minute to port it over, but the audio version won't start until you guys give me some. Well, I mean, I'm not holding it hostage. I'm doing it no matter what. I can talk about anything that I want to, but I always am curious if there's anything that you guys would like me to, I don't know if I can tackle it or whatnot, but I'm here. So I'm making a note. I'm going to write down podcast stuff from FB Live. There it is. If you're going to go back to board making, would it be just boards being made, or would you have graphics and a name? Okay, from JRZ back to board making and graphics or blanks. And you guys know me, that's enough for me to talk for an hour. So, Jody West is potato. I'm gonna just keep that one in the file for later. That sounds like a good topic to spitball later on. I'm gonna pop myself a refreshing beverage. It's not a wobble pop. It's one of them budget Lacroix. If you could sum up the crux of the apostrophe. Okay, apostrophical. APOSTROPHICALCRUX, or crucis apostrophoi. Okay, there you go. I mixed some Greek and some. All right, crux of the apostrophe. Good. So it looks like we've got enough for me to start a podcast. Just between Lou, are you going to go back to board making? If you do, will there be graphics or blanks? Oh, it's Frank Zappa. Thanks, Jason Wren. Wren is quoting Zappa lyric. Zappa. Is it a lyric? Probably is a lyric. I'll tell you, Zappa, man, he's a little beyond me. He's a little bit much. But all right, so today's date is November. It's November it's the 3rd of, let's see, that'd be the 11th month, 3rd day, 22nd of the millennial year. And I'm on here asking you guys if you have anything you'd like me to cover in tonight's podcast short. I'm moving them to nighttime because it's just a good time. For me, for you. So there we are. Thanks for being with me here in my little office nook. Wish you guys could see this. The packaging got old and broke open, but I have my own. You know who that is? Can you tell? It came with this it came with this little thing here. Yeah, it's lost all of its like flexibility. I'm afraid to push it down. There you go. Look who I have. it's Walter White. So it's Heisenberg. Yeah, I think I call him Walter White because the Heisenberg one has the hat. So I'm gonna just for the sake of fun, I'm gonna put him. I'll put him over here. Let's see if he. Let's see how long he stays. So Heisenberg will be watching over our times together. I'm gonna. The reason I'm on here, I'll say it again because I'll have to say it every now and then as some of you guys join and some drop. Anything in particular you guys would like to hear me discuss in upcoming podcasting that's going on here. John Ryan Zander asked, are you going to go back to board making? And if you do, will it be graphic or blank? Heisenberg hat, JRZ Heisenberg hat. You know, speaking of hats, fun fact, right here I have a number of hats from around the world. I don't know if you guys knew this about me, but I used to teach summer a camp for kids from on diplomatic programs, and I can't remember each of the countries that these hats come from, but these are all from different countries. And I don't have a Heisenberg hat. One less bagger. There it is. Says the guy who just got a bagger. Here's a hat from a different country that I have. These were all gifts from students of mine, and this is too small for my head. But look at the beautiful hand stitching on that hat. This is from a country that might end in Stan. My students were all from those countries. Here's another one. It is so similar, and they were both packaged together. These hats are identifiable by their design. And here's a hat. It has a little thing on it, and it is made of felted wool. This is a super sharp shap. I'm not gonna lie. The folks from this country, and I didn't label them, and I got them over the years from many different students. This one is, I think this one is Pakistani, and specifically I think it's Pashto. This hat is, you guys might recognize this hat. So this is a Pashto hat. I do not have a fez. I don't have a fez. This is another hat. Whoa, sweet. Oh, it was in the hat. I didn't know where it went. It was in this hat. I'm stoked. I'm gonna get a visit from the feds. This hat is super dope. This one might be Pashto as well. I don't know. I don't know if it's backward or forward. I don't know how to wear these hats, but this again is felted wool with a lining on the inside, and these are mostly from countries that end with Stan. This one, actually, Judy and I bought this on a trip from Ireland. This one I got in Galway. So they're on the floor over here. What else have I got? I don't have anything else super interesting over here on the floor. I do have these two drinking horns from the Republic of Georgia. They're very modest drinking horns, I will say that, but I really appreciate the gift from my young friend. Yeah, I've had a lot of students from a lot of different countries come through my life, and the gift of these hats has been very precious to me. I think there's one more that I like quite well. Well, I have a lot of hats. I have a lot of pipes. And I read books and I speak French. So I'm glad I found this replica, plastic replica, non-functioning item. You never want to not know where those are. It was in one of the hats. And you know what else I had from one of the students? This was one of my students who stayed with us as family for 10 months. I have cigarettes from China. and one of them is unopened. And so these are really high-end Chinese cigarettes, and they have a little menthol crush in them. Look at them with their little gold tips, and these are tiny. I mean, they're tiny. So that's the nicest cigarette that they sell in China. It was a sweet gift from the student who lived with us for a year. And yeah, so thank you all for all these awesome topics here. I think that JRZ gave me a great one. Will I go back to board making? And so I'll start up the podcast here and see if I can see if we can. I just want to make sure that I do this podcast right. So let me see what I got. Adding a recording. All right. Here we go. All right, it's recording through this lav mic that I've pinned to my beard. I figured I would make some sort of a commitment to sound quality. So welcome to the CapmLew Podcast. Hello, friends. And I'm on a Facebook Live right now with, I've got 4 folks on it right now. Alex, are you going to shave? All right, so Alex Rowland wants to know, am I going to shave? Shave. I don't think I can talk for an hour on that one. No plans to. Don't know if I'm going to get thrown in prison. So if I get thrown in prison, I could claim a religious exemption because my facial hair is part of an expression of faith. But what isn't with me? I'm weird that way. Get used to it, or don't. It's fine. We can be friends. I can be your friend. So that's all I can control. Little fizzy water there. Yeah, tonight I think I'll just talk a little bit about whether I will go back to board making. To be honest, I don't know. I have my workshop. I made boards. I started building my press in 2009, and by 2011, I had begun to produce good skateboards that embodied what I was looking for in skateboards. My first round of pressing, I have the first boards I pressed. They are still, excuse me, I belched a little bit. They're still super good. They're up in there, attached to the ceiling, and they're not cracking. And from 2009 to 2012, I went through all of the complete solo experience of figuring out that it could be done, that I could do it the way I was doing it. As far as I knew, nobody was taking the kind of low-tech approach I was by just taking Harbor Freight jack stands, turning them sideways, putting a table between them, putting some jacks on the top. I went with screw jacks because they hold force more reliably than the hydraulic jacks. You can use hydraulic jacks as well. You don't know when the seals start to go on those. And it is a common problem. You start to have board problems out of the presses, and there's John Ryan Zander commenting, they were so good. The boards I have that you made are still just as strong as they came out. I think that was true for a large number of them. Fact was, I could only make about 100 a month. And that was clicking full speed. And at that rate, I also had to create all the content and create the entire market for them. That situation is improving now with the Makers Movement and other DIY style pages, blowing up and more. I did a poll in the Makers Movement, and I think there are anywhere from 50 to 75, maybe 100 small workshops out there doing similar things to what I did. It's not brain surgery. It's you prepare your wood, You apply your glue very, very carefully. You develop a skill of applying glue. You prepare a mold. Whether I'm big into make your own mold. Greg Pravaznik over at Gluefoot Skateboards. Greg has an incredibly unique mold that is super cool. It's a spoon concave. It's a very, very interesting, cool, comfortable, grip your foot mold. And, just do something, please. Do something that is you, something that reflects you. So I succeeded. I made good boards. I also had a big mouth and continue to have a big mouth, and it's not hard to really tick off the powers that be. I am probably destined or scheduled to do that in the future, and I did. I ticked off the powers that be pretty badly, and set a sequence of events set into motion that even though I had a really good national thing going, I had no local thing going. I had a lower and lower quality connection with my local skateboarders, and that began to erode my sense of motivation and focus quite badly. There was a period of almost 7 years during which I watched my work growing. I was going on motorcycle trips during 4 of those years, and enjoying my work, but here where I live, not seeing that happen, and lots and lots and lots of stories, and so in 2019, I saw that the makers movement was cruising. People were learning how to make boards and being amazing in their own right, and I felt, one of my goals was not just to make boards, but I wanted to see 1,000 of these little workshops pop up, and for the maker-made board to be, more important than the person who's better at skateboarding than you are. That you would just love, that you get to love that and enjoy that. And I started seeing that happen independent of my existence. And in 2019, in May, I asked my sons to pack up my workshop and my studio down the road from me, just 15 blocks away from the house. I said, boys, pack it in a U-Haul and dump it on the DIY in the backyard. They brought it and they put it on the flat bottom of the DIY. I went to Louisiana with my wife and enjoyed a wonderful anniversary vacation. I came back, began sorting through everything sometime later, and sold 3 of my molds to Sam over at Life Skateboards, where my molds are still at work over there, and began decompression. And the thing is, if I start making boards again, Luke and I were talking about it today because we're doing this podcast. Hey, Mike Villalobos. Mike is on the Facebook Live. I've got this being recorded on podcast, and the standing question is, I'm asking for topics that people would like to hear me address. And I'm always interested in topics. You can message me on Facebook with any topics you'd like me to dish on. This is going to have a co-host. Luke is going to be my co-host when we get up and running. Right now, we're still working out the... I also would be remiss if I didn't ask for your support. You guys right now are... The audio is being recorded with a super cheap lav mic, $26 for that. And this is Podbean recording the audio. We're almost 8 minutes into that recording. And this Facebook Live, I will screen grab, old school, and I'll screen grab it and post it to YouTube. And it will probably include it'll probably include all your comments if I can tend to it properly. It's a very low-tech setup. I do not have a proper laptop or graphic cards or tower or those things. Right now, this is all being done on an absolute shoestring. But this is, making boards is something I will probably always do. I make boards when I feel like it. I have one completely original mold and one mold that is the standard mold that's offered at lifeskateboard.com. I do make them differently to life. I'm riding the Life Concave, and I'm enjoying it very much. But I pocket them by eye, one at a time. I drill them last. That's not the way Life makes them. I don't think that their way is inferior, but it is different, and the differences do come through. So, just trying to keep the pipes wet. So, it's my intention to monetize this and to expand the topics I speak on. I am interested in talking about lots and lots of things. I feel like, I've spent a good time in the motorcycle stuff, good time on motorcycles, and have ought to say about that. Probably could be interesting. I've got a lot to say about board making, and a lot to say about the present state of the union in terms of skateboarding culture. Very interesting looking around at what's going on. In the past, I've offered some pretty scathing critique of what's going on, and now I think that I could still do that. But I also am seeing a lot of things that are looking good. My only critique of them is let's have more. And sometimes if I see something that I think isn't enough, the answer is to get in there and complete it. Luke and I were talking about this because I get this real caged animal energy sometimes, and we'll probably be discussing that. And the caged animal comes out, and I say, they're sucking all the air out of the room, man. Like it happens in a lot of different ways, but somebody will be acting like they're an expert, and they might be speaking on a topic that I know a few things about. And I think, I'm not an expert, and neither are they. And it would be a lot more helpful if instead of hearing someone talking like an expert, you could hear someone just sharing what they've learned and how they learned it. And that doesn't happen. In skateboarding, you're offered these expert opinions all the time, especially on board making, but it's all over the place. These flat takes that are, they just suck all the air out of the room. And Mike, thanks for your recommendation or your offer to post on Art of Board Making. I'd love to have traffic, and I'd love to have patrons. I'm not going to ask aggressively for patronage until Luke and I are doing co-hosted stuff together, and you guys can get a feel for what it's like. I think we're quite a ways away from theme music and things like that. But just a cursory touch upon whether I'll return to board making. It would be very difficult for me to do again what I did before. That is, it would be difficult for me to justify the process of starting a brand and, being in the workshop, rolling glue, cranking presses, running the saw, running the router, running the sanders, making boards and packing them and shipping them out, versus learning how to do media and talking about that and helping to get 1,000 of those going. I'm not sure that I'll succeed in helping that happen. I'm not sure that I'm the guy for that, but I'm here, and I really want to give it all I got. And I have other things I want to talk about too. I want to check in about some of did you all notice that the world around us got a little bit crazy in 2019? I shut down my business, and by that winter, I was sick as a dog for a week with an illness that was supposed to be dropping people like flies on the street in China. I was watching that footage, and I thought we had the killing flu of 1918. and then it wasn't. And then there was vaccine, and there was a whole bunch of anger and vitriol poured out around people who did or didn't take the vaccine and all sorts of things like that. And um, I'd like to kind of like, I see it like a ball of yarn. Um, Mike asks me, would you possibly help out in the life workshop making boards, then just sign the boards as a craftsman? That's actually a tough ask. What I would rather do is make something special and collectible from my workshop that I do through with my hands. Like I could go down this weekend, I could make 10 boards with my hands, but I'm not going to lie. I think the worker is worth his keep, and I think that the ox shouldn't be muzzled as he treads out the grain. And I'd want those to go for top dollar so that I can fund my life. And and I don't want to just willy-nilly do stuff. I want to do stuff that's valuable, at least in my eyes. And it is valuable, man. My boards, they tend to be good. Everyone makes some subpar product in their life. I have a suspicion that the last time I made boards, I may have made a mistake, but that's a normal thing. If you know, yeah, that's just normal maker's neurosis. So I'll shake that off. I still owe a board to. There's one person who I owe a board to. You probably know who you are. And I have a list of people who've asked me, if you start making boards again, would you please think of me? I, you know, I know that going in the life workshop, their process there is different enough to my process that I'm not sure that I could do anything more than just like a little bit. Their tooling and everything is quite different to mine, and their process is quite different. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's not just one right answer, and their right answers are quite different to my right answers, and I love that about board making. As I look through the Makers Movement Facebook group, I see people figuring things out their way, and then, you know, cooking it. Some folks are making 5 a month. Some are making 20 a year. Them very low, you know, high inspiration to value there is insane. I believe smallness and greatness often occupy the same space. So I'm not a guy who is thinking in numbers. I'm thinking in terms of inspiration and what these things can mean. At the same time, Life Skateboards they have a really good potential capacity. This year they've bought a new building, and they're moving over. Their production is still going, but they've got pressing in one spot and finishing in the other spot, and they're working really hard. They're bivocational, so they're not just making skateboards. They also do cabinet work and remodeling, and I do definitely yearn for the day when Life Skateboards is ridiculously busy pumping out 400 or 1,000 super good quality boards per month. That's max capacity. Even maybe 1,000 is probably beyond max capacity. And there you have it. There's the face of the new skateboard, the new best, you know, the best tier, you know, good, better, best. That exists now, and it didn't exist in 2012, 2010, 2009, 2005. It didn't exist there, and now it does. And I can see that, you know, there are folks that are still kind of playing catch up on it. They maybe try to redress factory-made boards as something that's craft. Maybe try to, you know, and you know, good on them. I'm grateful for all the outfits out there that can make 1 million boards a year or tens of thousands of boards a month. I was with an outfit one time that made 40,000 boards a month in the summer. 19,000 boards a month in the summer? I can't remember now. use thousands and thousands of boards per month, heat transfer, Chinese printed or screen printed, or whatever. Good on you. I hope that things go the craft route. I'm pretty sure that there isn't a single factory skateboard out there that I covet to own. But the ones I like to ride, and you know me, I'm not a very talented skateboarder. I love riding my skateboard my way, and I don't want to do a whole bunch of stuff on my skateboard. But you know me, I love to ride my board like a surfboard, and I love the feel of the board, and I'm really enjoying my Life skateboard. I like the Life Standard concave and pocketing that I have on it. When I make a board here, I will say that I do continue to prefer the way I pocket tails and do things like that, but that's preference. You can ride, I saw some kids 3-flipping penny boards, so I know that, this is not, none of this stuff it should lead to elitism or superiority complexes. There's different strokes for different folks. We're all very different. And I think we'll stop it there in terms of the podcast. It just hit 20 minutes, and I think that's quite long enough for these early days. This weekend I'll be recording with Luke, and we'll have a few things. I think it'll be nice and spicy. I don't know. We'll see how we are, but we're finding our way into this podcast thing. I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who are listening to the podcast on Podbean. Still ironing out the website. I've got CapmLew.com, and I'm going to get the Podbean over there, so when you go on it, you get the podcast and like that. And I'm going to iron out how we do these, because the video that we do, it's been really tricky trying to get a Facebook Live onto YouTube, but it started to work this week for me. It didn't a year ago, 2 years ago, 3. It's been 3 years. Let me think here, 2.5 years or so since I dipped into skateboarding as a public person. So this is me finding my way forward. I want to do media, and there you go. Bradley Need, who is my dear friend, the owner of the bike shop where I worked for the last year, he says it's like in motorcycles: ride what you like and like what you ride. And if you don't like what you're riding, go out there and find someone who can make what you like, or I don't know, calm down. Dance with the one what brung you. Yeah, I like that. I dance with the one what brung me pretty much every day. Well, friends, on the podcast, signing out. This is CapmLew. Avast, ahoy, you lubbers. And then I'm still with you guys on Facebook Live. One thing I would ask is, this is the super early days. I literally don't know what I'm doing in some ways with podcasting and how to aggregate the media. My dear friend Bob Lofton very kindly gave me some really good advice, which was on our list, a good confirmation of a couple of wise moves we can make. But on Podbean, the goal is to do video podcasting hosted with me and Luke. And we really want to talk about a bunch of really heavy stuff too. We want to talk about some heavy trigger topics that are not just calm topics. And I am a little bit apprehensive about that. Thanks, John Ryan Zander, for mentioning that. I had an old podcast on Apple Podcast, and will be on Apple Podcast within the week with the CapmLew Podcast. I operate through the lens of skateboarding. I think most of you know I'm a person with faith. My worldview and the way that I act and the way I go out in the world, you've been looking at a person who's like the core motive is love. Even when I'm angry and I say mean, nasty things about the industry, usually it's because in my eyes I see an ocean of suicidal kids out there, and with all the stuff the industry does, I keep seeing them increase the suicidality of these kids, And so that's why I'm going to be in a podcast. That's one of the big things. Jeff Vanover, I would like to thank you for saying that you're happy to hear me express myself. I'm very nervous about this kind of thing. I will stop being, maybe I won't stop feeling. It's a very heavy thing to speak words into the spheres, because, it's in the book. Where there's a multiplication of words, there wanteth not sin. And I've said some things that I regret, and I'll probably say them again because they're what I mean. I get very angry when I think of the amazing good thing that skateboarding is for kids, and then I juxtapose it with some of the common practices, behaviors of both industry, all the way from the national, international, down to the retail level, and when I juxtapose it with some of the chicanery that goes on. But it seems to me that we're in a little bit of a different time than when I left in 2019. It seems to me that because of the Instagram kids and the amazing social media and all that stuff, that things are getting really good. things are starting to get really good, and there's a lot of stuff I don't really prefer, but I'm happy, and I'm happy to see lots of things that I'm starting to like. I like that people are starting to talk about things. We had Skate Line that popped up way back in the day, and then Thrasher bought it and turned it into what it is today. It used to be really, really spicy and interesting. Now there's a guy called Gifted Hater, and another guy does Thrash Talk on YouTube. I found them, and they're like almost there. I want to do deep topics about deep conversations about some very difficult topics, as well as some hilarious conversations about some hilarious topics. Yeah, this weekend, Luke and I will do some stuff. I'll probably try and cram Luke into this little space here. This is a ridiculous space. It's not clean. I'm not a clean person. It will not be clean. It's not going to happen. So I think you're fine. And thanks for spending this time with me. We've gone quite a while. In the future, we'll have 90-minute episodes and continuations coming up within the week. So if you would do me a favor, check out the CapmLew Podcast, CapmLew, on Podbean. I don't know, subscribe to it, please. Would you consider throwing me some bones on my patronage thing on there? I set that up, and somebody dropped a $10 gift today. And I thank you. You know who you are because you're the only person so far. And that's going to go into, I don't know what kind of tech I need to have. I'm not certain that this doesn't work just fine. With a little tiny hilarious lav mic, and an iPhone with a lav mic thing in it, and my iPad. I think we could cruise like this for a while. I don't know. But in the future, I could see us doing some very interesting things. I want to talk about some stuff. The more you focus on the good, the more you see the good. That is a really good saying. I'm going to take that to heart and consider that. I really appreciate you saying that, Travis. I definitely am not a person who... oh, Mike, thanks for the affirmation to keep it lo-fi. That's really kind. I am not... I am a little bit scared of what happens when everybody decides to put on rose-colored glasses. So I won't be I won't be getting an easy come, easy go attitude about certain things. There will be some moments. One of the things that has to be discussed, and this is where the gloves really come off. We get some heavy topics, yeah, I'm going to keep that topic until it comes up in Luke's and my conversations, but we've got some savage stuff that we need to talk about together and think about together, because there's work to be done still. And I'm afraid sometimes that if we don't, if we put on I'm not saying that Travis's quote is a rose-colored glasses thing. It's true. It's good to be grateful and to recognize the wonderful things that we have and that are around us, especially people. It's also very important for us to be sober-minded and think in terms of our mortality, and also to be aware and speak out about injustice when it rears its ugly head, and it does. And I think that in skateboarding, it's funny because skateboarding people have views on everything, and I want to share views on everything. And one of the things I learned over the last few years is that well, you could share your view on something, or you could interview someone who shares a view on something, and people don't seem to be used to it anymore. Well, I'd like to see that change. Don't know, might not. It's okay. We'll all be dead in about 20 minutes, and it'll last a long time after that. So I like getting that sorted out best I can. I'm going to jump off of here, and I'm going to keep it lo-fi, and tomorrow Luke will be over, and we're going to be working on this podcast. And again, I always want to hear what you'd like to hear discussed on a podcast, things that are of interest to you, especially those of you who have known me over the years, and would like to hear my thoughts on a few things. And otherwise, I have my own list, and we'll see. But I want to thank you for spending time with me tonight in this Facebook Live. I'm going to be putting it over on YouTube and trying to figure out how to get it in that .mov from, I've got a converter online. It's going to take forever. And then get it onto Podbean for you too. But the audio will be up there. Toot sweet. Thanks again, everybody. I'll be at you. CapmLew, for what it's worth.